You believe me now? I told you I'm gonna kill him. I did. He slipped, bro.
Let's take a look at some of your work. You took his back. You had the...
I don't think Hamzat is Dagestani. Wait, no. I think he is. Where is this place? I guess it's a, you know what? Let's just look it up. Is Hamzat Shemaev Dagestan? He's not from Dagestan. He was born in Chechnya, which is a republic of Russia. He is compared to Dagestani fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov, but he's not Dagestani. Okay. Okay. We love that. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about UFC history and the rise of Dagestani fighters. Just recently, I have been very obsessed with the UFC and everything fighting related. I don't really know why, just kind of came out of nowhere. So I thought this would be a good idea for a second video. Just kind of going into the history about the UFC. We're going to talk about old fighters. We're going to talk about the business. We're going to talk about new fighters. We're going to talk about Dagestani fighters, obviously. But first, I want to get started off by showing you guys my makeup and the products that I used today for this video. So for my mascara, I'm using this CoverGirl brown mascara. It's kind of old. I actually need a new one, but it's like the only mascara I have right now. So this is the one that I'm using for that. And my lip gloss, I just have just regular pink shade of lipstick. I think I bought it off of Amazon. Like, it's nowhere brand related, just random thing from Amazon just to match my look. And for eyeshadow, I blended this ColourPop peach thing. Sorry, let me just get this open. Yeah, just kind of this one up top right here. I blended that one with my favorite makeup at the moment, which is the Twilight makeup, the New Moon palette from ColourPop. And I used this Soulless Monster one right here. Yes, I've really been just so obsessed with ColourPop right now, and the Twilight makeup especially. I wear it like all the time. It's my favorite thing in the world. Like, I'm literally so obsessed. So that's my makeup for this video today. So for my outfit, I decided to keep it more minimalist with this Snoopy tee because I'm not really going out anywhere or showing you guys anything. So I got it from DD's, where I'm interning this summer, and has a little pink bow on the Snoopies, and I think it's really cute. So these are my pants from Pretty Little Thing. They're also pretty much basic. They're very like parachute-y and comfortable just to wear around the house or if you're going out. These are just usually what I wear when I'm inside or not really doing much, paired with those black sandals as well. So this is one of the matching Snoopy scrunchies that came with the shirt, and that is one of the rings that I wear pretty much all the time. So before we get started, I just want to apologize to you guys about my hair situation. Here in LA, for some reason, it's just very humid, which I was not expecting, but I have naturally curly hair, so every time I straighten it, it will like, the humidity will like make it look kind of like a rat's nest. So I'm sorry about that, but it's okay. We're not gonna let it bother me. I care so much about my hair for some stupid reason, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know about that. I'm gonna wear my hair naturally curly at some point, but right now I just like to wear it straight for my videos because I just like to look dolled up and everything, but yeah. Also, this is my last week in LA coming up, so this will be the last video that I film here in LA after my internship ends, and then we're gonna get rid of this like ugly background, and I'm gonna have a much nicer one for my next upcoming videos. So just, this is not going to be my background forever. It's just for now and the apartment that I'm living in for the summer, but just wanted to let you guys know about that as well. Like, I promise this is not going to be like this just ugliness all the time. So my favorite fighter right now in the UFC is definitely Alex Pereira. I really like his fighting style. I think he's very talented. He's very unique. I've kind of been like going through a lot of different fighters recently, just kind of learning more about them for this video and kind of getting to know a little more about their history as well. But right now it's Alex Pereira. He's my favorite fighter. He's been my favorite fighter for like the past few months, but Islam Makhachev is slowly moving up the ladder and like getting toward being my favorite fighter almost, but right now it's Alex Pereira. But those two, Alex Pereira and Islam Makhachev, are my favorites at the moment. They're just both the most entertaining for me to watch, at least. And I did watch Alex Pereira's recent fight against Magomed Ankalaev, and it was fun. I was with like a bunch of my friends when I was watching it, and I was rooting like so hard for Alex Pereira. Obviously he did not win, but it's okay. Like I was supporting him. It was fun. I just really enjoyed it. The Fertitta brothers, through their company Zuffa, purchased the UFC in 2001 for $2 million, providing the financial backing needed for its transformation. The reality show, The Ultimate Fighter, launched in 2005, introduced the UFC to a mainstream audience, showcasing its fighters and storylines and leading to increased viewership and popularity. The goal was to find the ultimate fighting champion by staging a single-night tournament featuring the best athletes skilled in the various disciplines of all martial arts, including karate, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, grappling, wrestling, sumo, and other combat sports. The winner of the tournament would be crowned the champion. So the UFC is definitely modern-day gladiatorial games. There's no doubt about that. Back in the Roman times, when they would have the gladiators fighting, obviously it was to kill, which nowadays we don't do that, thankfully. But the UFC is definitely just like that, in my opinion. It's all that entertainment, it's all the appeal that people love about the sport, and especially the press conferences that go in hand before us, that we get to know more about the fighters. It definitely plays a role in the build up to these fights and the excitement that people get just for watching them. The first ever UFC event was held by Rorion Gracie and Art Davie. Rorion Gracie was a renowned BJJ practitioner and member of the Gracie family, the founders of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The Gracies had become famous in Brazil for their Gracie Challenge. They would accept fights against anyone from any discipline with the aim of demonstrating BJJ's ability against different martial arts. His partner, Art Davie, was an advertising executive and producer. The two of them decided to create the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where martial artists of different sizes and disciplines would fight inside a cage. The event took place on the 12th of November 1993 and was broadcast live and also released on home video. UFC 1 was extremely different to the UFC we see today, with no weight classes, no rounds, and no judges. Rules were also scarce, with biting and eye gouging being the only moves made illegal. So, watching some of these old UFC videos on the internet, it definitely is a very different ballpark than it is now. It's honestly just like, I feel like just almost street fighting, but with a crowd and a referee, because you would have guys with completely different weight classes fighting each other that it was basically just unfair. Almost like, even the video now that I just showed you, like this guy, he's like 100 pounds over his opponent, so it's almost just like, does this other guy even have a chance? Because like it's two different weights. So I then see why they made new weight classes moving forward within the UFC, just to keep stuff like that from happening. But it is really cool just to go into the archives and see the kind of way UFC fights were back in the day. Very retro, very old, and I think it's just a good way to kind of progress and see at least where we are now. Ilia Gracie, the youngest of the Gracie brothers, played a crucial role in developing BJJ and was known for his innovative techniques that catered to his smaller stature. He became a prominent figure in the martial arts community and helped popularize Vale Tudo, no-holds-barred fighting. So, apparently, the Gracie family just had a huge legacy when it comes to modern-day UFC, especially how it was even growing within the 90s into what it is now. So their legacy and their impact definitely is a force to be reckoned with. And you know what? They probably deserve a whole video on their own in their own right, considering everything that they've done. So we're not going to go too much into detail about the Gracie family, but just mostly that what they did in the origins of the UFC and how they grew it from what it is then to what it is now. In the mid-1990s, UFC events continued to be dominated by Gracie family members, with Royce Gracie winning UFC 2 and UFC 4, which further cemented the reputation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. During this period, the UFC's greatest challenge was overcoming its reputation as an unregulated and dangerous spectacle. Fighter safety became a critical issue. The UFC implemented weight classes, banned certain dangerous techniques, and introduced stricter medical checks. The rules were modified to create more of a sporting atmosphere and reduce the extreme violence that characterized the early events. The first UFC event in Las Vegas took place on September 28th, 2001, which is the day before my birthday, by the way. Vegas is basically known for the UFC. The show The Ultimate Fighter was filmed there. And this all stemmed from UFC 33, which was the first event to take place in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, this was one of the worst events the UFC had ever seen. All 5 fights on the main card were won by decision without a single finish taking place. Fans had become accustomed to seeing fast-paced, quick knockouts, which was most definitely not the case for this one. And to this day, Dana White deems UFC 33 as one of the worst events to have taken place. In the late 2000s, the UFC expanded internationally, hosting events in Canada, England, and other parts of the world. This growth was supported by the promotion of fighters from various countries, including George St. Pierre from Canada, Anderson Silva from Brazil, and the emergence of champions from places like Ireland, England, and Australia. So now we're going to get into Bruce Lee and his amazing influence on what the UFC is now, especially of what it was back then. Now, Bruce Lee is, to some, considered the father of mixed martial arts, which I would have to say I do agree with that statement. Bruce Lee is such an icon. He has done so many amazing things. He has a great legacy, and he even deserves a video in his own right. Like, there's just so much to cover about Bruce Lee. We're only going to get into a little bit of his impact on mixed martial arts. Not much so his personal life. Like I said, he deserves his own video on his own because he's that much of an icon, which I probably will do eventually one day. But right now we're just going to focus on his impact on UFC and mixed martial arts as a whole. In 1994, Bruce Lee became an iconic figure in the world of mixed martial arts after his death, and is now considered by many to be one of its founders. Bruce Lee is widely considered to be the father of MMA because of his philosophy of combining aspects of various fighting disciplines into a personal style. This is a cornerstone principle for any MMA fighter that gets into the ring. A fighter who rigidly sticks to one discipline is disadvantaged. The middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya, has opened up on who inspired him to learn different martial arts. And he said it was Bruce Lee. He gave him the credit for instilling in him the belief that all martial arts forms are important. He also hailed Lee as the godfather of modern MMA. Ariel Helwani asked him if he considers Bruce Lee as a founding father of MMA, to which Adesanya replied, "Like you said, martial arts. We have mixed martial arts. At the end of the day, art is subjective. What's beautiful to you might be ugly to me. What's useful for you might not be useful to me. That's why I initially decided to pursue MMA. I felt like I had to learn all the different styles of mixed martial arts, and I still am. In the way, I can pick and choose what is useful. I'm just down to learn, and I think he started that." Now, I like Israel Adesanya. He is a great fighter. I've watched a few of his fights from time to time. I've known about him for many years. I think he's a really good talent out there. Also kind of funny. I think he's really funny. But I think it's really nice that he credits Bruce Lee as being the founding father of MMA because, as I mentioned before, Bruce Lee is just such an icon. Like, he's paved the way for so many new things in mixed martial arts that we wouldn't have today if it weren't for him and his influence. He was the first guy to break those barriers and not just be like Kung Fu is the best or Taekwondo is the best. He tried everything, including ground fighting. So definitely I subscribe to the theory that he is the godfather of martial arts. Bruce Lee created Jeet Kune Do, a martial arts philosophy that emphasized using what works from any style, adapting to the opponent, efficiency, directness, and realism in combat. And one quote that he added was, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." MMA, especially in the UFC, is about blending, striking, grappling, wrestling, and submissions, which is exactly what Bruce Lee envisioned decades before the UFC was founded. Okay, so we're gonna pull up a video of Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris in The Way of the Dragon. I'm just gonna react to this real quick since I haven't seen any of his movies. I think it's good to see what the hype is all about and see how talented he actually was. I'm only gonna react to a little bit of this video, not the whole thing. Okay, so yeah, as we see, he just was one of a kind, and I don't think we'll probably ever see anyone like him ever again. It's unfortunate he passed away so early, but I just think his legacy is just one to remain forever and ever. Before the UFC ever existed, martial arts were often separated between karate, boxing, kung fu, judo, and many more. But Bruce Lee broke these boundaries. He combined striking, grappling, trapping, and footwork from multiple arts. He integrated elements of boxing, fencing, wrestling, and Wing Chun into one method. And this is exactly what MMA fighters all do right now. They learn from every style, integrating the best parts and preparing for all ranges of combat. And speaking to how Bruce Lee was such a global icon, he also brought Asian martial arts to the West through movies like Enter the Dragon, and he changed how martial artists were perceived, from stiff, stylized warriors to fluid, athletic combatants. And he also inspired generations of kids, and many of whom would become mainstream UFC fighters. Now, speaking of influential figures within the UFC, we can't go through this video without talking about the rise of the one and the only Conor McGregor. Now, we're not going to get, again, too much into personal detail about Conor McGregor, just kind of about his effect on the UFC and his influence on the UFC, because he really did change the sport for the better. He kind of brought it into mainstream. So many people know about UFC because of Conor McGregor. I even found out about UFC because of Conor McGregor. My dad was a fan. I watched like a lot of his fights when I was young. Middle school, went into high school. I remember watching both of the Nate Diaz fights. I remember watching the Eddie Alvarez fight. I remember watching the Khabib fight. He was an icon. He did so much for the sport. So we're just kind of gonna go into his impact on the sport and everything that he did in order to make the UFC what it is now. So we're not going to get into the drama about him. We're not going to get into any personal detailing about him. It's just not what this video is going to be about. And also, like, these are people that are still alive, so there's just no need to talk about the drama that surrounds them. It's not important. We're just going to focus on his impact on the UFC. Irish fighter Conor McGregor began his ascent in the UFC, quickly gaining attention with his brash personality and knockout power. McGregor's trash-talking, showmanship, and ability to back up his words with performances inside the cage turned him into a global superstar. In 2015, Conor McGregor became the UFC featherweight champion, and in 2016, he made history by becoming the first fighter in UFC history to hold 2 titles in 2 weight classes simultaneously, which was the featherweight and the lightweight division. McGregor's rise to fame helped push the UFC into the mainstream, especially with his cross-promotion with boxing, culminating in a massive showdown with Floyd Mayweather in 2017. Now, that is one fight I did forget to mention that I did watch as well, the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight. Now, that was a huge fight. It was mixing martial arts and boxing, which I don't think had been done before. And I do remember watching that fight way back when it happened in 2017. I think I was a freshman in high school. I think, yeah, like around that time. So back then, I didn't really know much about the UFC. I knew of Conor McGregor because, like I said, he is what introduced me into the sport of UFC. So I really was just a Conor McGregor fan, like watching his fights, watching some of his press conference talks. Like, that's really what I was doing, at least back then when I first got introduced to the sport. He was entertaining. He was a very entertaining guy, and he was really fun to watch. It's something I look back on with, like my happy moments with my family, because we all just would watch him fight together, and it was always a fun thing for sure. McGregor's biggest contribution to the UFC on the financial turf is undoubtedly the biggest in the sport's history. Before his rise, the UFC had pay-per-view stars like George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, John Jones, and Brock Lesnar. While these fighters enabled the UFC's popularity to steadily grow, McGregor boosted the growth to unprecedented levels and single-handedly propelled the sport into the mainstream. Many people hail John Jones as the greatest combat sports athlete in history. However, Jones does not hesitate to acknowledge McGregor's role in the sport getting mainstream popularity. He said, in quote, "I love what he did for the sport. I love the businessman that he is, the mindset, the marketability," he said. "I mean, he fast-forwarded this whole game up at least 10 years, and he'll always have my support. He will always get my pay-per-view buy," says Jones. McGregor's impact on the UFC's commercial success can be gauged by the fact that 8 of the 10 highest-grossing pay-per-view events in the promotion's history were headlined by him. Additionally, 3 of the 5 highest gates in UFC history also happen to be the McGregor events. No other mixed martial artist has come even remotely close to achieving this level of success. A brief glance at the current and upcoming stars on the UFC roster, and we can confidently say that the records he created on the commercial front might remain unbeaten for the foreseeable future. George St. Pierre once chose Conor McGregor as one of the fighters he would pick for MMA's Mount Rushmore. He is quoted saying, "Who raised the bar in terms of pay-per-views and awareness for the sport? Conor McGregor," he said. Now, the top 5 highest grossing pay-per-views, 4 out of those 5 had Conor McGregor. So number 1 is UFC 229, which was Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Number 2 was Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz round 2. And the third one was Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. That one didn't have Conor. Number 4 was Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 1. And then the 5th was Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. So as we can see that trend, Conor was, as I said, very, very popular for the sport. He introduced a lot of people. He made it what it is today. Like, there's no doubt about that. So no matter what we all think about Conor McGregor now, as opposed to who he was back then, there's no doubt that he did so much for the sport of UFC. So many people know what it is because of him. I even personally know what it is because of him. And I'm not gonna shy away from that part because he is very talented. He's a good businessman. He's done a lot of great things for the sport as a whole. And I even remember just being so entertained, just like by his trash talking, by his fights alone. It was just always so exciting to watch. Like, he's funny. He is a very funny guy. I know a lot of it is probably all just for show, but he makes a good press conference. He makes a good character and person that you want to root for, I always rooted for him in every fight I ever watched him, and I always rooted for him, always wanted him to win because he just was entertaining. And when you're entertaining, people want you to win, So that definitely played a huge part in not only his success, but the success of the sport as a whole. And there's so many more people watching it because of him. And this is also why I think it's so important to know the history of this sport as well, especially when we talked about the kind of icon that Bruce Lee is. So many fighters take inspiration from him. Even now, he's kind of just like inspired a whole generation of people to want to be fighters, to want to have that kind of discipline. And I think it's so great to see that legacy is living on, and even his extended family can even see the kind of impact that he has and still has to this day. So I just think it's really great to be able to share that story for him, and I hope to one day be able to go into more about his life, because it seems like a very interesting life that he lived. So I probably will do that eventually, but kind of more down the sports line when I start to do more sports videos. So right now we're gonna watch a few Conor McGregor videos just to kind of give you guys a glimpse of his personality if you didn't already know. Let's get into it.
That Conor McGregor is not a championship fighter. He only has 2 to 3 rounds. Yet in your professional career, you've only went to the 5th round twice and lost one of them. What the fuck are you talking about, motherfucker? The fuck are you talking about? That's the champ! That's the champ! That's the fucking champ right there! Fuck you, man!
Hey, what's your question?
Yeah, he has a suit and a tie.
What's your question?
With that. I love it. I love it.
My question was clearly, you've only been to the 5th round twice in your professional career and lost one of them. You're complaining that he has no gas.
His question is, why you talking shit? That's his question. Why the fuck you up there talking shit? Say it like it is. You're blessed. You're blessed that I chose you.
Okay, so yeah, he's hilarious. As we see, his trash talking is really good. Like, he's such a funny guy. He's very charismatic with how he does it. And like I said, that's just what makes him and made him so popular for the UFC. He just was a unique talent at the time, and he kind of just escalated it even more and made it so popular. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've watched this clip. It's so funny to me. Like, I find it hilarious. Even this one right here.
Sorry I'm late, I just don't give a fuck!
Yeah, pretty entertaining guy, to say the least. Now, we cannot discuss the history of the UFC without discussing UFC 229. Now, as we all know, UFC 229 was Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. And there is so much backstory that goes into this fight on why this fight was even made to begin with. There's a lot, so I'm going to try to go through as much as I can, but like I said, this isn't in any way going to be disrespecting either fighter. We're not going to disrespect Conor. We're not going to disrespect Khabib. I like both fighters. I respect both fighters, and so many other people respect and like both fighters. So we're just going to kind of go through the timeline, see what happened, and how it became such a mainstream, popular fight, even to this day. UFC 229. It all started with the Brooklyn bus attack. When Conor McGregor showed up at Barclays Center just after the conclusion of UFC 223 Media Day on April 5th, he was looking to confront one of the weekend's main event fighters. When the Irishman threw a steel dolly through the window of a bus carrying the fighter, he was targeting lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov, as well as several other fighters and UFC staff, some of whom were injured during the attack. This feud started when Artem Lobov, a friend and training partner of McGregor's, spoke to reporters in his native Russian language and was critical of Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Заболела у него там задница или еще где-то, он снимается. Вес не может даже сделать. Ему наплевать на фанатов, что там все прилетели к нему из России, там одну визу получить, сколько это занимает. Сколько стоят билеты прилететь. Люди потратились, прилетели его смотреть, а он просто не вышел. Причем не один раз, не 2 раза, не 3 раза, не 4 раза. Так кто здесь чикен у нас? Кто боится? Конор выходит каждый раз, несмотря ни на что. Он настоящий боец, он настоящий чемпион. Чемпион — это не только пояс вокруг твоего, у тебя, а чемпион — это сложение ума. Чемпион — это как бьется твое сердце. И Конор настоящий чемпион. Хабибу до него, как до Китая.
Now, Khabib Nurmagomedov ended up hearing about that interview. On the Tuesday of fight week, with Lobov in New York to compete on Khabib's undercard, the two happened to see each other at the fighter's hotel, and there was a verbal confrontation in their native Russian language, which is translated into them saying, I'm kind of going to go through this based on who's saying what. So first off, it was Khabib saying, "Don't say my name, you understand me? You got it or not? I'm asking you. Say it to my face. You said I'm a P word, did you?" And then Lobov says, "I didn't say that."
And then Nurmagomedov said, "How you didn't say? Say it to my face. You said I'm a P word, didn't you?" And then Lobov says, "I didn't say this." And then Nurmagomedov says, "How you didn't say? Don't say such things anymore." And then apparently Khabib slapped him on the back of his head before walking away.
So basically, long story short, they attacked the bus. A few people were injured. Conor was arrested. It was a whole thing. As you guys saw in the video, it's like a viral clip, like it's everywhere. I didn't even know that video existed because, like I said, back when this fight was going on, I had no idea of the drama. I didn't know about the feud between him and Khabib. I didn't know all this extra stuff was going on because I was in high school when this fight happened. All I cared about was just seeing the fight and watching Conor win. That's all I cared about. I didn't know any of the like backstory to any of this, which growing up and looking more at it, it is insane. It's crazy, crazy behavior. Obviously there's two sides to every story. Back then when I watched this fight and then I saw Khabib jump the cage after and like go after Dylan Dennis, I'm like, what is going on here? Like he won the fight and he's over here attacking people. Like that's what I was thinking because again, high schooler, didn't know much about the UFC, just was watching it for the entertainment. And now growing up, seeing it back and seeing Khabib jump the cage, it's a little bit more eye-opening, I would say, as to what actually happened, seeing all this stuff from the past and the backstory of this fight. Understandable why he jumped the fence and went after Conor's team. You know, they just both generally just did not like each other and things just ended up coming to physical blows at the end of it. Now, I like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Growing up, as I said, from the high schooler that watched the fight to now, I have so much respect for him now. I think he's a really good guy to look up to. I think his morals are good. I think he has good morals. He kind of teaches discipline. You know, I think it's good to have discipline, especially as you get older. But I like him. I think he's a great fighter, very talented. Obviously, he's undefeated. And I also think he's really funny. I know I said that like about the past three fighters, but I think they're all so funny. Conor's hilarious. Khabib is hilarious. Islam is hilarious. Like I said, he's like getting to be one of my favorite fighters right now. So I just think it's so funny to watch them because Khabib especially is funny without trying. Like he's so like serious in some of his videos and it just makes him funny. Like the one video where he talks about like Conor to send him his location is so funny. Let's actually pull that video up right now. We're gonna react to it.
Come here, send me a message like location, I'm gonna come, whatever you want, doesn't matter, Ireland, New York, Brooklyn or Moscow, doesn't matter. Tell me where.
See, he's just funny. Like he's so funny to me. And the more I learn about him, the more I come to like him. Not only just as a fighter, but just as a person. Like, I think he's so funny. Now, obviously, I don't know him personally, but just from the videos I've seen, he just seems like a really funny guy. And he doesn't even have to try. Like, that's what makes him so likable, at least to me. So, here's the video of Khabib jumping the fence, because that's an iconic video in and of its own. And I think it's necessary to show, just to see just how insane this feud between him and Conor actually was.
Finish Conor McGregor tonight!
Look at him. Look at him screaming at the corner. He's screaming at Dylan Dennis, Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu coach. Look at him. Oh,
and now Khabib jumps the fence.
No.
Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dylan Dennis! Mayhem! Oh, no! Total chaos here. It looks like UFC security has corralled Khabib Nurmagomedov. Well, Khabib wasn't kidding when he said no handshake after the fight. Oh! And now one of Nurmagomedov's teammates throws a right hand at Conor. All hell has broken loose!
This is crazy.
See, all I remember about this fight was this fight after the fight. You know, So obviously I was sad that Conor lost because at the time I was rooting for Conor. I wanted Conor to win. Seeing it live, it was like, wow, you know, crazy. And I'm actually so glad I got to witness it all in person live, because like my dad bought the pay-per-view and everything. Like we all were watching. We all wanted Conor to win. I think most of the world wanted Conor to win, you know? But Khabib was just so outnumbered in terms of like the popularity. There were definitely people that wanted him to win, but not as much as I feel like people wanted Conor to win. So, but as this has progressed, more people started to like Khabib, and they started to like him and his fighting style and everything about him, and I think it was very well deserved. I started to like Khabib Nurmagomedov more the more I got to learn about the UFC as well. He's, like I said, generational talent, very unique as a fighter. So I just remember just being sad that Conor lost because I wanted Conor to win like most of the world did. And this was just a crazy moment. Like, the amount of times I've even watched this video back, I just think it's insane. You know, like, I think this is something like this has only happened in UFC 229, which is why we're even talking about it right now, because this was a huge event in the history of the UFC. It's a little bit more modern compared to what I'm normally going to talk about on this channel, but it's important to say the least. You know, it kind of changed the UFC even more. Like, this one fight, I think, is probably, it is the most popular fight. It had the most pay-per-view buys. So it just has a lot of significance to people because the feud between these two, and it was just a crazy time. But to say the least, Khabib, more power to him for being able to jump the fence after that, like doing a whole fight, because I could never. But I'm also like not even a fighter, but you know, he's just iconic to say the least. I think it's also so funny about that video too, because Islam, like in the back fighting with Khabib, and there was like another video as like this guy was like yelling for Islam to like calm down. Like, it's just, the whole thing was just so crazy, like insane. Like, the amount of, like I said, the amount of times I have seen these videos like from different angles, it's just like crazy. Actually, I want to pull up the video of Islam at the fight. Yeah, see, I love Islam so much. Like, he's also so funny. Like, him and Khabib are such funny people, and like the more videos I watch of them, the more I like them. They're just like iconic. I love them so much. Like, they're so entertaining, and I'm really glad I learned about them more because I did grow a liking for them, and so did so many other people, and I think that's a really good thing. They're all like universally like loved and adored, which now leads me into the next part of our video, the rise of Dagestani fighters in the UFC. Now, obviously the most popular Dagestani fighter is by far Khabib Nurmagomedov, undefeated, super popular, super talented, and he even is now a coach and helps to train Islam, who's currently still in the UFC. So here's just a list of a few of the Dagestani fighters that are currently in the UFC as of 2025. We have Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Magomed Ankalaev, and Tiger Ulanbekov. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Now, here are some of the reasons that Dagestani fighters continue to excel in the UFC. Fighters often begin their training in wrestling and sambo from childhood, and this helps them form technical foundation for dominating grappling positions. They also have a lot of cultural discipline and training. This is known for their humility and minimal distractions, and many avoid the media hype or flashy lifestyles that prioritize training and the fight readiness. And many also camp at high altitudes in the mountains, which help to build and enhance their cardio and endurance, which is not so easily matched by their opponents. Now, I didn't even know Dagestan existed until the UFC. So that just goes to show you how dominant these guys are in the UFC. All the Dagestani fighters that have been and continue to be, very popular, very likable guys, very down-to-earth, humble guys as well. Now, Dagestan as a whole is like a region in Russia. So, like I said, I didn't even know it existed until I started watching the UFC. I now know it exists, and so many other people now know it exists because of the UFC. So their impact on the sport as a whole has been a positive one, not only just for their country, but for the sport too. There are currently 12 fighters from Dagestan currently competing in the UFC. And this makes Dagestan the most represented nation in the UFC, despite having a relatively small population in the region. Ibragimov, who fights in the Professional Fighters League, which is the PFL, is part of most of the recent generation of Dagestani fighters who are taking over the sport. And he says that fighting is a way of life and not just a profession. In Dagestan, guys really want to be fighters. In the whole of Europe, there's not many guys who really want to be fighters. They just pretended like they are fighters. They want to be like fighters. They want to be like someone. But in Dagestan, there's so many guys that really want to be fighters. Not all European fighters. I'm not speaking for all of them, but I like to say 30% or 50% of the guys, they don't really want to be there. They just go in there for a hype and stuff like that for Instagram. Remember me mentioning in the beginning of the video my favorite fighter being Alex Pereira and him losing to Magomed Ankalaev, a Dagestani fighter? They are very talented fighters, and it's sad because they beat a lot of my favorite fighters. And in turn, they then end up becoming some of my favorite fighters because of how talented they actually are. Like Islam, moving up the ranks of at least my favorite fighters. I really like Khabib. I've liked him for a while now. Magomed Ankalaev, I don't really know much about him yet. I kind of have to do a little bit more research on him, but watching him fight against Alex Pereira, I can see he has talent for sure. And they're probably going to do a rematch. I hope they do because I want to watch that fight again. And hopefully by that time I'll know a little bit more about Magomed Ankalaev just to compare him with Alex Pereira and just kind of see and go from there. I want to react to just like a short Khabib interview just because I want to show you guys like the kind of man that he is in these interviews and just what makes him so entertaining. So we're just gonna watch like a short clip, yeah.
I know this is a hard question to answer, but I have to ask it. What do you believe the future looks like? I know you want to take a little bit of downtime, but do you believe Tony Ferguson is next? Do you want to take a long layoff? I mean, what are your initial thoughts right now?
Next is Coca-Cola with ice and some steaks with burgers, you know. It's like, I'm very hungry.
So am I.
Thank you.
Are you hot?
Huh?
Did you feel the heat in the lead up to this fight? This, humidity and heat here in Abu Dhabi?
I don't understand question, sorry.
Was it too hot and humid for you?
Yeah, it's too hot here, but doesn't matter. Like people talking before the fight inside the arena, it's gonna be hot. It's like whatever they say, I say, hey, it's gonna be not only for me, it's gonna be for my opponent too. If you can fight, I can fight all night too. I don't worry about this. But right now, I want a little bit enjoy. Please.
Yeah. Enjoy. Eat your burger. Eat your steak. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an awkward interview, but funny. Like, he's so funny. Like, his accent makes it even better, too. Like, I love him. Now, there is a UFC fight coming up pretty soon in August. There's actually one tomorrow, now that I'm currently filming this video. But I'm not going to watch that one. But the one in August is Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think it will be a really entertaining fight. I'm going to try to vlog that for you guys and watch it and just kind of do like a watch with me kind of video because I do really want to watch it and I want to show you guys it as well. Just kind of want to see like the whole thing and how I kind of go about watching these kind of fights because I get kind of crazy. I like to like yell at the TV when like who I want to win, and obviously I want Khamzat Chimaev to win. But whenever Islam fights again, I also really want to watch that because I haven't really seen him in a fight yet. I've seen like clips here and there, but I don't think I've watched one live. Like there's just so many I've watched, I can't even really remember all of them at one time, but we're gonna watch one eventually. So that one that's coming up in August, I'm gonna try to watch. I definitely think Dagestani fighters are what's driving the UFC right now. Obviously we have Mr. Ilia Topuria, He just won his fight against Charles Oliveira, which really upset my friend. He is a big Charles Oliveira fan, so wasn't a good night for him. But Ilia Topuria is currently on top of the UFC right now. He's doing really well. Everyone's wanting to see a fight between him and Islam Makhachev at some point. I would love to see that because then I would get to see Islam fight, and I do really want to see him fight. But I also just think it would be a really good fight just in general because they're both super talented individuals, and who knows what may end up of the fight. It would be really fun to watch, and when it does happen, because I think it will, I will be the first one to watch. Okay, well, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. It's my second video ever. This was really fun. I've just been like really obsessing over the UFC lately, and I just kind of wanted to do this video just so I could like talk about it out loud and just kind of get it out there. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this next fight in August. Hopefully I get to watch it and document it for you guys. But thank you so much for watching. I'll have all my links of all the information that I took for this video in the description below, as well as my Instagrams. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.